Okay, so this question says, calculate the total hours worked by each employee. So the first mistake, who can detect the first, who can tell me where the first mistake? This is the solution. Now, you can say there is an answer, but does that mean it's correct? Now, who can tell me where the first mistake is? This total hours worked. Is that what we are saying here? What is wrong in this query?
Using the average instead of the sum.
Average, exactly. So you are using average here instead of sum. So for total hours, it's supposed to be sum of hours worked. And not only that, the question says by each employee. So anytime you see each, that is a signal to the group by clause. That is the signal that you are going to group the employee. Because when you say by each employee, it could be that there are employees that bear different names, like the same name, or employees that have the same name, or employees are assigned group employee ID. So you want to group them by their employee ID. So anytime you see the each in a question, hello, please, if you are not asking questions, try to be muted. I could hear some background noise. Okay, so if once you see the keyword each is a signal that you are going to use the group by clause. Now let me show you. So what we're supposed to do is select sum of hours worked. I mean, you can give it alias, maybe 2 hours worked. And if you are giving it alias, there shouldn't even be space in between them. And then you group by that. So as sample solution, which I wrote is something like this. Select, I'm using the employee ID just to show the employees, okay, and sum of hours worked. And I gave it, I don't know, can you see my MySQL workbench? Hello, can you see my work? Okay. All right. So select the employee ID, the sum of hours work, that's the total hours work. And I just gave you this alias from service. So because it's each employee, that's why I'm grouping by the employee ID. Do we have any question on this?
So I was, hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead and ask your question.
Why I used that average was because I was confused because of that each employee. Okay. So I was just trying to maybe use the average, maybe divide all of them, like a average of each of them can work that. I don't know, but this one is clearer now.
Okay. So anytime we see that each is a signal that we're going to group the employee, or like we're going to use the group by clause. Okay, so that is that. I think the same mistake was made by Mrs. Lillian. I think you made the same mistake. Your query was exactly the same thing as Mr. Augustine. Okay, so let's look at
the confusion. The confusion actually came with the each word.
Okay.
Because when I saw the each word, I felt the closest thing was to take the average. Okay. But if I share my screen, I was juggling between the sum of hours work and that, but I wasn't sure. So the each word was what I struggled with. I couldn't really explain what I needed to do if it was just to sum or to use average. So
yeah, that's fine. We didn't go deep into group by last week, so that's acceptable. So when you see the total hours worked, you should know that's an indication that you will use the aggregate function sum. And when we see each, that's an indication that we're going to use group by. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to do here. So this sum is representing the total hours worked. I just gave you this alias, it's not compulsory. And because of the each, that's why we're doing the group by. So let's take note of that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. The verse question 18 says, display all employees with total hours worked greater than 7. So now this gives you an answer, but still there's something wrong here. So we need total hours worked, not just hours worked. So because we need total hours worked, we're still going to use the aggregate function sum, but because we're going to use sum, we cannot use the where clause again because we want to sum the total hours worked. We can, let me show you an example from what someone did. No. I wanted to show the one from Belumi, which was, I mean, it's intuitive what he did. Sorry. Belumi, I hope I can show that. Belumi is not talking, so let me know.
No, I say yes.
Oh, okay. All right, so I just wanted to point out, he used subquery, which looks interesting. Yeah, so it looks, so this what someone did. I mean, that this line looks intuitive. It's just that there could be, there's just, let me see.
Yeah, I realized I needed to, because there's 7.5 and 10.2, but it only returned 1, so I just left it.
Exactly. So this makes sense. Select this sum of, so the total hours work is coming from, that's the sum here, which is correct. And this alias, I mean, you can use any alias from this, correct. Now, where the issue comes from is this. Now you can group by the employee ID, which you're going to do. That's correct. So so Palumi is trying to use subquery here. Now, if you want to use subquery, we're going to use in, but we may not be able to use in here because we are dealing with not something category. We are dealing with numbers like sum of this. So this is where another clause that I did not talk about comes in, and that is the having. That's where I want to start from today. I will talk about having and when to use having, the difference between having and where, why we cannot use where. But I just want to quickly state that here. So this is my own solution, and I'm going to put that in those of us who submitted, and especially those who submitted Word document. I'll be able to copy that and send to us in what you did. So everything up to this was similar, was exactly the same thing as what Pelumi did. So this is where the issue is coming from, and that's what I want to talk about today. That when we cannot use where after you group by, after you use an aggregate for, after you use group by, we can't use where clause. If I use where clause, for instance, let me use where sum of hours is greater than, so you can see it's even giving me error. It's not even going to allow me to, it's showing this. So anytime you use group by, we cannot use the where clause again, because so that's the rules, and that's where having comes in. But having has its own weakness that once I use having, I can't use the alias. I can't say where having total hours greater than 7. Having would not allow that. That's because once you use having, that's where the query starts from. Let me use having so that you can see. Let me use total hours work, the alias, because the query will start working from the having row. This is where the query is going to start running. So at this point, MySQL doesn't know what total hours is because it's starting from here, and then it's now moved by to select. So at this point, there is no column called total hours. So it's going to give us error there. So having total hours, wow, let me see. Let me scroll down. Yeah, I mean, this is surprising. It worked. Yeah. But I would not advise you to do that, okay? Because having normally doesn't really work with alien. So, but I don't know, it works here. So yeah, but there is a rule. Having doesn't use alien because, well, maybe this is the updated MySQL, because normally the query will start from the having clause and then come back to this. So at this point, the query may not know what total hours is, but that's why I'm using some of the hours work. But it appears that it still work with the total hours. Okay, so let me fully go into, I just want to quickly correct it. The correction may not be that clear, but I will show that. Let me start from where, like this point, so that we will understand the correction clearly. So this was where we stop normally in the class. So I will juggle between this note and the correction of the assignment. I will juggle between it. So I want to teach having and group by and then move to the correction so that it can be very clear. Okay. This was where we stopped last week. So we actually started with the group by. That suppose I want to show the number of employees in each department. And that's why I said, anytime you see each, that's where the group by comes in. Okay. Is someone asking a question?
Yes, sir. Sunday, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry to cut you short, sir. So I just downloaded the file that you said we should use as the data exercise. And I want to ask, do I supposed to do it like they did the other ones with the practice? Like create the data and then insert the data into the file, then start working with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because I saw it on the video that some of them were offline, so you need to bring it back to the local instance. So
yeah, that's because it was not highlighted. So we're trying to load the data. So whichever way you know how to load the data, load it. But I saw that it wasn't highlighted if you open it directly. That's why we're copying it to local instance where it could be highlighted. Yeah.
Okay. I get what you use now. And I want to ask also, okay, is that where you talk? I remember you talked about it, joining the WhatsApp group. I don't know the link. I don't know which link to get into the WhatsApp group.
I will try to put the link before we close so that you can join. We've been sending the link out this way. So, but I will find the link now and put it in the chat before this class ends.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, so this shows how many employees in each department. So we are selecting department now. Count star. We could also put count in bracket department. So count star is count how many departments here. So this star is representing the department. We're just giving this alias from employee. Now the group by is coming because of the word each department. So that's why we're grouping by department here. Okay. Please let me know if you have a question. Now look at this one again. Now the same question, but we put another constraint. Show how many employees in each department and show those with more than one employee. So we want to count how many employees are in each, not the word each. We also want to how many. So that's where the keyword count will come in, the aggregate function count, because we want to show how many. So that's the count. And then each department. So that means we're going to group by the department. And not only that, we want to show only those departments that have the count, only those employees, only those departments that have employees more than one. Show those with more than one employee. And this is where having comes in. We cannot use where here. We can't say where the number of employees is greater than one because of the word group by. And that's why I put wrong. But here, now look at what I was trying to say about the having not using alias. So having is read by SQL Server first, but the server has no idea of what this alias that we use, norm of employees. It happens to work in my case. I don't know why, but generally having will not work with alias. But I don't know, maybe it's updated now in the so. But I would advise that because at work you may not be given MySQL. For instance, now at work I use MySQL SQL Server because that's what the organization use. So I would advise you to not be using alias when you're using Avi, because if MySQL accepts it, you can see that's why I put SQL Server. MySQL SQL Server will not accept it. Most SQL Server, most SQL platform will not accept using alias with having. So stick with using the query itself, like having count of staff greater than 1 instead of using the alias of norm of employees. But we cannot use where after group by. I'm emphasizing on this so that you can stick. And this is what I'm trying to say, that for where, look at it, said the difference between having and where clause in SQL is that where clause cannot be used with aggregates. So you can't use it. Once you aggregate your data, once you group your data, you cannot use the where clause. That's where having has to come in. He said, but having clause can. Any question here? I don't know if this is clear to us. Is it?
I don't think it's very clear because, well, I think that what I got from you is that you said that once we group, then that once we that the SQL reads the having and ignores maybe the grouping. But I thought you said that whatever we're using, we're grouping. I don't know if I'm mixing up what I want to ask.
Okay, so
Because
can I
think
go
this
ahead.
meant is
Go
fine.
ahead, go ahead.
You can
Yeah.
continue, but it's a little bit of a mix-up because now you're saying that the way I understand the part of the where clause does not go with the having. That where the where clause you can that whenever we see the each, we should use the having. Understand the if we're doing the each department or each employee or whatever, it's easier to go with the having. But in the example you gave us on the correction, you actually group first before the having. Is it that you're trying to say that if we're going to use the group by, that it should actually come first before having, as much as SQL will read the having first before the grouping? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, first of all, you said some things I didn't say, and I'll quickly correct that. I didn't say, I never said you should use having when you see each. What did I say you should use when you see each? Anybody?
Group by.
Group by. So I never said you should use having. Okay, so I said, so there are two things I said here. Please just listen. There are two things I said here, two things. So maybe you are mixing them up. So the first thing is that where clause cannot be used after group by. That's the first thing I said, that once you have grouped your data, your query, you cannot use where clause after the group by. That's the first thing. Now, the second thing I said is about using alias with having. Like in this case, we select department and count of the department, and we use alias of norm of employees. Now, in the having line here, I'm using that alias instead of the count of staff. So I'm saying that most SQL platform does not allow alias with having. That's the second thing I said. So, and that's what I put that. And if you see the one I put correct here, instead of using the alias of norm of employees, I'm using the count of staff directly. That's what I say. I don't know if those two things are correct. Not using where after group by and avoid using alias with having. Those are the 2 points I'm trying to make. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm only buttressing the explanation with this slide, that where cannot be used after group by. And if you are using, and the correct one should be having, but if you are using having, avoid using alias with having. Okay, so that's, and I think that's what I was trying to show in this example here, in this correction here, that we are selecting employee ID, the total hours worked as this from service. And because we need the total hours worked by each employee, that's why we are grouping by the employee ID. Now, I cannot, and we need the employee whose total hours worked is more than 7. So because of group by, we cannot use where after the group by. Now, if you are using having, MySQL might allow you to use the alias here, like you saw that it worked, but most SQL platform will not allow you to use this having with this alias. And that's why I use the query itself as the sum of hours worked. It doesn't mean the result will still carry the alias, but most SQL platform does not allow this having to be used with this alias. And that's why I'm using this, the query itself, the sum of hours worked greater than 7 in question 18. Is this clear, this question? Can I move on?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, the next thing, okay, was this question here, and that's this, this last question. He said, there is a table called assignment, I think so. So group assignment by employees, show the employees numbers and total hours. So all of these ones are just exercise, just questions, okay? And this is what will lead us to what we want to do. So this is just like more practice of using the having with group by and all of that, okay? So this is where I'm going to start from, because we want to look at join today. But before that, let's look at these other questions in the assignment. So this question 19, it says, show all owner ID and the number of practice for owners. Now, this question is a little bit dicey and I mean, a little bit challenging, but not too much. It says show all the owner ID and the number of properties for owners who own more than one property. So the mistake Mr. Johnson is making is that, one, you are selecting everything. I want the owner ID and I want the number of properties. Now, how do we get the number of properties? Seeing that we do not have any column that is titled number of properties. So we can get that from the property ID. Remember, the property ID is the primary key. I believe you've been taught primary key, foreign key. So the property ID is the primary key that is helping to identify what property belongs to which owner in the owner's table. Okay, so, and we have owner ID here too, to indicate the owner. Okay, so this owner that has this owner ID 1 owns this property 2. And but this same owner who with this owner ID has the same property that we put property ID 6. So the same person owns this property at this Elms Street apartment, and he also owns this private residence. So looking at the result, I mean, this is the result Mr. Gosling is showing us. Well, we don't know whether this is correct, but from here alone, I know that the person with this owner ID 1 has 2 properties there. The person with this owner ID 3 also has 2 properties there. So the first mistake is that we have to show all owner ID, not everything, not the street, the city, the state, the zip. So owner ID, and also the number of properties. So to get the number of properties, we may have to do count of property ID because we need number of properties. And property ID is what indicates the property that belongs to that owner. So we need to count the property ID, but because we need it for individual owner, each owner, even though you didn't see the word each here, but because we know that owners, there are different properties that could be owned by a person, by a single person, by an owner here. Like we are seeing that owner one own more than one property. So we need to group by the owner, maybe owner ID. Yeah, we need to group by the owner ID and count the property ID. So this is what I'm saying here. So what I did was to select the owner ID because we want to know the properties that each owner has. But I think the question is more than that, like show all owner ID and the number of properties for owners who own more than one property. Okay, so because it said we should show owner ID, that's why I'm selecting just the owner ID. And it said count the number of properties. Now I'm counting, here I am doing count of owner ID as, okay, this number of properties owned by this person from property, grouped by the owner. Having count of owner greater than one. Maybe we should put property ID here. Should we? Maybe we should put property ID here.
Yes.
I think that may be better. Let's see. So count the property ID as this from property, grouped by the owner ID. Yep. Having count of property. Let's use property ID. Greater than, having the count of property ID greater than 1. Okay, so if we run this and say, I think this is correct. So if you see the owner ID 1, according to even the result Mr. Augustine shows, owner ID 1 has 2 properties, and their property ID is property ID 2 and property ID 6. But we didn't show the property ID. If we had shown it, it's also going to list the property. So we could also show that just to be sure we are correct. Property ID. Okay, so let's see this. Now you can see, so the owner ID 1 has the property ID 2. Well, it's not going to show everything. Okay, so but the number of property he owns is 2, and we could see that if we select that separately. The owner ID 2 is also having 2 property, and owner ID 3 is also having 2 property. So if we look at, though it's not owner ID 3 here, you can see part of the result Mr. August is showing. Owner ID 3 also has 2 property. That's property 4 and property 7. So that's it. So we're counting, we're showing owner ID. So I don't actually need this because it's not going to show the individual property because I'm grouping my property by owner ID. So I'm counting how many properties that this owner has from this property. And then we group by the owner ID because we want to count the number of property by each owner. And that's what we are selecting the properties where the count of that properties is more than 1. So that's what we are saying here. Any question on this query? Any question? Are we okay with it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and yeah, so the last question was, I think all the people who submitted it got it, so that's fine. So this will move me to what we have for today. Any question before I move on? Because what we want to do today, we want to continue from where we stopped here in the group and having and move to join. And move to joins. Any?
Sorry, you didn't do the number 20.
Everybody got it. You all got it. So there's no point doing it because you all got it. So whatever you wrote, how you did it, you are all correct. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's no question, we want to look at the join today. Now there are two ways to do the join. Let me first, let me just explain basic things about join here. Let me just explain basic thing about join. Okay, so join is when we want to retrieve data from two or more tables. And my plan is to cover how to query 2 and 3 tables. If you can query 2 and 3 tables, you can query more than 3 tables. Though the more the tables, the more complex the query becomes. But 2 and 3 tables is feasible. Most times you'll be trying to retrieve data from 2 or more tables. Okay, but what is join here? So that's why I put that it's actually used to ask for records. By record, I mean data across 2 tables that are associated with each other based on a common piece of information. Now, this common piece of information is what we call the primary and the foreign key. For example, in my left table here, the people table, there is a key called the state code. That would be the primary key for the people's table. Now, in the state table, what column corresponds to the state code?
State abbreviation.
The state abbreviation. Now, even though this state abbreviation does not have the same name as state code, it is still the same information with state code. So in that case, it is the foreign key. It is the foreign key to people's table, but is the primary key to the state table. So in that case, that's the common piece of information that we're going to use to merge these 2 tables together. Now, there are different types of merging. And I will just explain a few of them here, or the most common one you will likely be using. I will explain them here. But if you can see what I'm trying to do is that, okay, now we are merging these 2 tables with these 2 columns. Now, we have where we have the Colorado with CO state code. So we're going to be matching that together. And then we have where the state code is main. We're also going to be merging that. But we do not have any information as to the South Dakota and the Wyoming. So in that case, if we merge them, depending on the type of merge method we use, that will determine the result. If we use a merge method that only gives what is common, the rows common to both tables, we will only have information regarding the Colorado and the Maine. If we use the type of join method that gives us the common rows, and that type of method is called the inner join. Inner join. So, and that is the default method. Once you, and you are going to see that we're going to try them out. Once we use just join, if you just say, okay, I'm selecting this from this, join this table, by default, all SQL platform will use the inner join by default. Even if you don't specify inner join, it's going to use inner join by default once you use join. Okay. Now, and that will only give the common rows to both. And that's what I'm trying to explain here in another 2 tables. That when you have table 1 here, we have table 2. Inner join, to join the 2 tables, it will give the common rows between the 2 tables. In this case, product is the key, the common column. Let's take that as the primary key to table 1 and the foreign key to table 2. Let's just assume. Okay, that's the key. So in this case, kiwis are common in both. In the rows are common in both. It's going to return that. That's what the table you are seeing below. And the onion is common in both, and then you're going to see that. So if you use inner join in this case, you will only retrieve 2 rows. Those rows that are common to the 2 tables. That's what inner join will give. That's what we call the intersection. What is the rows common to the 2 tables? I don't know if inner join is clear. We're going to try them out. Okay. There is also another type of join that we call it left join. Now, what left join is doing is that give me all the rows in the left table. And then that's, in this case, table 1. Give me everything in the left table. Let's say this table 1 is the left. Give me everything there. Kiwis, onions, tomato. And then only give me the corresponding. Hello, who is that? Yeah, someone is, you can be muted. There's someone is interfering, but interrupting me from the background noise, please. So you can be muted if you are not asking questions. So the left join will return all the rows from the left table and only the matching row from the right table. Let me give you an instance. Like this one. We have the customers table, we have the orders table. The customer ID is the primary key to the customers table and is the foreign key to the orders table. Now, if we use inner join, only row 1 and row 3 will be given, will be returned. That's the row 1 that corresponds to Shri and the row 3 that corresponds to Basavraj. If we use inner join. But if I use the left join, either left join or left outer join is the same. So the left join will return all of the customers table, the left table, and that's why you see them. I return them here all green. 1, 2, 3. It returns everything in the left. And we only return the matching rows from the right, like the row 1 that has customer ID 1 from the right, and row 3 that has customer ID 3 from the right. And the second row, so there is no row 2, there's no customer ID 2 in the orders table. So in that row, it returns null for you. So left join will return all the information in the left table and only the matching rows from the right table. I don't know if this is clear. The reason I'm emphasizing on this because if we want to do a typical interview on SQL for data analysts, okay, there are majorly 3 things you need to master very well and to surpass all these interviews, whatever, if that's your aim. Excel very well, SQL very well, and at least intermediate of Power BI. For advanced companies, or if you want to make sure you beat all competition, that's where Python comes in. Now, for SQL interview, most times, these are the questions they'll be asking you to check your knowledge. What's the difference between left join and inner join? That's why I'm emphasizing on them, because it's not just about the querying. The querying is when they give you something to query, they might give you this. You know, you can use internet and all of that. But right there on the spot, you'll be asked different questions to check the knowledge. So is this left join, is it clear? If it's not clear, please speak out.
No, it's not.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead and answer your question.
I just wanted to find out. Does it now mean that the inner join and this left outer join are interchangeably used?
It depends on, you are the data analyst. It depends on, remember that everything, and I believe you have been told this from the very beginning, you are the data analyst that has just been employed. And you have goals, you have tasks you want to accomplish, you have questions that you want to answer, and they gave you the data. So you are the one that will write queries. So based on it depends on what you want to answer. Okay, so if the question you want to answer from the data, just you do not need all of the information from the 2 tables. Maybe you want to match 2 tables with common information, then you use inner join. You are the one who will do this yourself. But suppose that you already know you are going to use all of the information from the left, from the, let's say, 1 table, and you only need the rows that correspond to that first table from the second table. That's where the left join comes in. So the left join is going to return everything from the first table, in this case, customer table. Let's take that as the left table. So it's going to return all of, let's say I want to return all information about customers, and I only want where there are order, like the order ID and the order date that match the information in the customer's table.
Yeah,
Then that's
now,
where what?
I said now that one is clear. The way you said it now, it makes it clear. You saying you want to return customer ID where the order ID are matching.
So I want to return, yes, I want to return. So one, I am returning all information about the customers, and I only want to return the information about their orders, like the order ID and the order date, where their customer ID is matching.
Yes.
So that's when you use the left join, because I'm returning all information from the customers, and I only want to return their orders that match that customer.
So that explains left outer join. Is that what you mean?
That's left after join.
Okay. That one is clear now.
But suppose that I only want that I don't really want all the information about customer. I only want to return information about customer that only match the orders. I only want to return the information from the customers.
It may be a right outer join.
No. I'm explaining a different one now. So the left outer join is I want to return all information from the customer and only the orders information that where their customer ID match. That's the left outer join.
Yes, correct.
So once I say all customers, all rows, so that's left. I'm using returning all the left, all the information. And I'm only returning just few rows from the others where it match.
Return the customer.
But the inner join, I'm not returning all information. Hello, are you asking a question?
No, I said is the inner join seems like an intersection.
Exactly. So the inner join is only the rows in the customer that matches the rows in the orders. I only want to return the customer's information that match where their customer ID, like customer's information from the orders table, like where their customer ID match. In this case, for instance, I would, since this order ID 200 and customer ID 4 is not found in the customer's table, I don't want to return it. I only want to return customer that makes order. In this case, these are customers 1 and 3. They are only the one that made the order, maybe currently, for this day. If you look at customer ID 1 and 3, they made orders here, right? But customer ID 4, he made order, but it's not part of our customers. So I only want to return just the customers that appears in my customers table, and they also made order. They appear in the customers table, but they also made order. So in that case, that's only customer ID 1 and 3. But there is a customer with customer ID 4 that made order, but it did not appear. We don't have the information of that customer in our customers table. So if I only want only the customers that we have the information of and also made order, then that is inner join. That's only and. That's where the and comes in. Customers in our table, and they made order. So the customers in our table, and they also made order. They are the customer ID 1 and customer ID 3. I don't know if that's inner join. But the left join, we want all of the customers that we have their information of, and we only want to retrieve, and we want their matching information from the others. So in that case, it will return also all of the other table, but in that case, it will put null. But for inner join, it will not even put null at all. You won't have that. I don't know if this is clear. I don't know. Is it?
It's getting clear, I think,
Okay.
as we use it in an exercise.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So the last one is very similar to the left join, and it's called right join or right outer join. Instead, for the left join, remember we said you will return all of the left table, and then only the matching information from the right table from the other is what you return. But for the right join, you are returning all of the right. Excuse me. So this is very similar to the left join. It means that I want to return, like in this case, see the left table here, and the other table, the right table here. Now I want to return all information from the right, and only return the rows that match information in the right from the left. So I'm returning all information from the right, and that's it, all rows from right table. ID 1, 2, 3, 4 are returned. AVA1, all information are returned. But which rows from the left table match the information in the right table? In this case, we only have ID 701, and that's because of this BVA1, BVAL1. That's what I'm using to match. 405 it matches AVA1 405, and that's why it's returned. Another one is the 401. 401. It also matches 401 and 405. But look at the red one here, 409 and 403, they do not occur in the right table. So you return null for those rows. So that's what will be returned. This is what we call the right outer join or the right join. Most times, actually, it's the inner join you'll be using, but you just need to know about this because you could be asked. Any question before we go to where we'll start doing practice? Any question on this?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the table here, we now have two IDs. Is there can the two ID, maybe this one, okay, let's put it like this. If we are matching, are we matching it based on the row or just maybe the figures or the details we are looking for? Because these two IDs now return, there's one ID here and there's another ID at the up.
Okay.
No, I think.
Does anybody want to answer that question?
Yeah, I want to try. I just want to try. I think is ignoring the table 2 ID because we are only instructing the system to return something from table that is on the right side. I don't know if I'm right or I'm wrong. I just want to try because we are actually dealing with the right table because it's gonna. I'm trying to say maybe this right table is the primary table. Why this table 2 are just our secondary? So it's not really. I'm not saying I'm gonna say it this way. It's not like it's not focusing on table 2, but everything that it needed is in 1, and that's why it's not worried about this ID in this table 2. I may be wrong.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sunday. So I think what August is asking is that we have ID here. We have ID here. We have BVAL1 and we have AVAL1. Which of these two columns are we using the two columns to merge them? Am I right? Is that a question?
Yes.
So, but look, before I answer, look at the ID here, look at the ID here, look at the BVAL1, look at the AVAL1. Which one actually in the two tables have similar information? Which column is their rows are similar? No. Is it ID or BVAL1 and AVAL1?
What
Viva one.
what I meant
Viva
is,
one.
Viva one, Ava one.
Viva one and Eva one.
So Augustine, just because they have ID doesn't mean that we are going to use it because their rows doesn't have
Same
similar
value.
information. So we cannot use the ID column to merge them, even though their column name is the same. So it's not by the name, it's by the information in their rows that makes them common key. Are you getting me?
yes, sir.
So the bval1, even though it's called bval1, it has similar, all the information of the rows, at least the information in the rows are similar to one we have in the aval1. So because they are similar, that is the key, the column that we're going to use to merge them. I don't know if I answered your question, sir.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, Mr. Kenny. So is this safe for if we're working on two tables, just like these two tables we're seeing right now? Is it
Yes.
safer for us to just first identify our primary and foreign key first, since they are the link that will guide whatever we're the linking?
That's
Like
right.
in this tool, we identify that the foreign key, the primary key is going to be aval1, and then the bval1 is the foreign key. And then before we know that, we're going to merge those two columns together, though we're giving priority to the table on the right.
Yes, you are very correct. That's the first thing. We need to locate the key, even if you don't understand the deep, okay, this is primary key, this is foreign key. If you understand it, that's good. If you don't understand it, one key thing that you should take away is that what column
See the shirt.
Hello? I don't know where the noise is coming from. Please, if
I think somebody have their phone and the laptop together, that's why.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe somebody is looking from the phone and then trying to work on a laptop. If you do that,
So if that
error.
is the case, you can have one muted and like reduce the volume to the call, please. Thank you. So I think even if you don't understand the details of foreign key, primary key, because it could be confusing for some people, it could be, okay? So, but I think the key takeaway is that, okay, in this table, in this first table that I have, what column in this table have similar information in their rows to the second table? Whether they have the same name or they don't have the same name, can I identify that column? If you can, that is the key that you are going to use to merge. So I don't want to go into this, say, okay, this is a foreign key, is a primary key, is a primary key. That may be confusing to people. If you know it, awesome. If you don't, key thing, which column in this table is the rows similar to any column in the second table? If you can find it and you need information from both tables, that is the key column you will use to merge them. I don't know if I answered your question, man.
You're saying whatever value, if you can find whatever value in one table in another table, and that's what we use, that's what we needed.
Yeah, if they are similar, the rows are similar. Yes.
Okay, so I'm just trying to say it the way I understand it.
Yes, you're correct. This is Lillian. Do I answer a question?
Yes, I didn't have a question. I was also trying to explain it how I want to, how I also understand. Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's clearer now.
Okay.
It's clearer now. Yes.
All right. So let's look at this. So the goal here is to query multiple tables. That's the goal for today. And we're going to be using I think it should be from the exercise table, the one you've loaded already, you use for the assignment. I believe so. So I have all the practice, all the thing we're going to do is from that table. Okay. Now there are two ways to do it. To use join. The complex one is using subquery. The kind of easier one is to use join. Now, in my slide there, I have for both, but I don't know which one you care about. Should I just use the join and not touch the subquery? Or you want me to show you equivalent of the subquery and also the join? Which one?
Yes,
You
sure.
should do one after the other.
Use the join first. Then let's use the join first.
Yeah,
Then
that's
we'll
what I
do the
said.
subquery as well.
Let's do one after the other. Because the thing is this, your mouth is kind of fast. So
Oh, seriously? Wow. I'm sorry.
you said what?
I didn't know my mouth is fast.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yes, it is. Your explanation is fast. So that's just the only thing.
Yeah, I can slow down.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So that's why at any point, if I appear fast, like I'm speaking fast, please call me back to order. I'm in Nigerian. Okay. Yeah, please always let me know. Don't just allow me to continue. Okay. So the reason I asked for that is because for each question here, I show equivalent of both. So I will first explain the join, like you said, and then I'll move back to. So there is a question here, and I like put the tables there so that you can visualize it. Okay. So the question is, we want to show the names of employees who worked less than 20 hours. Mr. Sunday, I hope I'm not speaking fast again.
Yes, sir, you are not. By this time, yes, you're not.
Okay, so we want to show the names of employees who worked less than 20 hours. So the first thing, which two tables am I going to get this information from? That's the starting point. Which
employer
two
number
tables? The employee table,
employee number,
and the, okay, yeah, the hours worked is not in the employees table. Which table has it? That's the assignment table.
okay, the assignment.
Let's check that here. Let me open a SQL query here. So let's use exercise, and then let's show the tables. Okay, let's see. Oh, I think it should be in the example then, because I don't have assignment. Let me use example. Let's see. Example. Okay, so let's see. Let's see all information from employee. Okay, I think it's still using the example table that we did before. Let's see. Okay, so we have information as to the names of the employees, but we don't have information on the hours worked. Remember, this question is saying we want to show names of employees who work less than 20 hours. So you need to first locate, okay, what are the columns I need and which table are they coming from? So I need the column that refers to the names of employees. In this case, the first name and the last name. I also need information as to hours, but I can see the hours work is not in the employee table. So which table is it from? Let's see the assignment, select this from, and that's why as a data analyst, you need to first quickly just check the table, familiarize yourself with the data you are given. And that's where you quickly play with select this from this, select. Remember I said in organizational table is very large, always use this limit, okay? In case the table is millions of rows so that you won't have to wait and cancel, just limit. If you only want to show, you only want to quickly check what is in the table, make sure you use the limit. But for practice, because you know the data is not large, that's why we are not using limit, okay? So I think the second one is assignment. Assignment. Yeah, let me see this, what's in the assignment. So I see that I have hours worked there. But look at it, I have project ID, employee number, hours worked. This from the assignment. Let's check the employee again. I have employee number, first name, last name, department, phone, and email. What if we are to merge information from these two tables? What column from employee do you see have similar information as to assignment? Let me show you again.
What column?
Employee number.
Employee number. Do we all agree with that?
Yes.
What? Do we all agree?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
One more time.
Mr. Sunday, I didn't hear you. What did you say?
I said I was asking you to ask the questions one more time. The question you just asked now.
So I showed employee table. So these are the columns: employee number, first name, last name, department, phone, and email. Then I also show assignment table. It has project ID, employee number, and hours. And I'm asking if we are to merge information from these two tables, which column in the employee table do you think we are going to use as the common column to merge them?
Employee number. Because
So
that's the one that has both.
Exactly. So that's the key. Now, if though not because their name, the column name is the same, but because the rows, see, 1, 2, 3, something, something, and 1, 4, 1, 8 is because the rows are the same. Because there are sometimes they may bear the same column name, but the information in them are different. You can't use that column. Okay. So we've known the two tables that we want to retrieve information from. We've also known the common column that we want to use to merge them. We've also, and we know all the information, like the columns we need. So this one, it said the names of employees who work less than 20 hours. Now, we know we need, so we're going to use the employee number. So if we're using join, I'll show you an example and then we'll try it out. Okay, so names of employees who work less than 20 hours. So visually, if you want to just look at it visually from these two tables I'm showing you here. So the first thing we need is that we need to check. That's why I put here, number one, check those who work less than 20 hours in the assignment table. And if we check them, these are 15, those people, employees who work like 15 hours, 10 hours, they work less than 20 hours. And their employee number is 4 and 5. Now, if you now go to the employee table and look for the employees that have their employee number as 4 and 5, you will see those are the employees there. And that's Tom Caruthers and Ita Jones, because their employee numbers is 4 and 5. And in their assignment table, those people with employee number 4 and 5, they are those who work 15 hours and 10 hours, which is less than 20 hours. So that's how the MySQL is working actually. I don't know if this is clear visually.
Visually, yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see how we can do this in Join. Okay, so to do that in Join, so we know we need these two tables. We need the employees, so we can select. Now the first name, how is it spelled? Let me see. First name, last name. So we need the first name. We need the last name. Now, let's show the hours worked too. So we need hours worked. Even the hours worked is not in the employee table. Let's select all of the columns that we need. Okay, hours worked. Now, from where? From the first one is the employee table, right? So employee, let me use employee. Now I can give it alias. Is either I use as E or I can just put space E. It's the same thing as the alias here. Even if I do as E or I remove the as and just put E, MySQL knows that you are referring E. You are saying E is representing employee. So let me just, I'll use as here, but it's the same even if I don't. So MySQL is going to select this first name and last name from the employee table. where is the hours worked coming from?
Assignment.
Assignment. So we're going to do that too. Comma assignment. We can also put that one as A. Okay. So it's going to select first name and last name from employee. It's going to select hours worked from assignment. Now, what else do we need? We need where hours worked is less than what? 20.
20.
This question, who was less than hours worked? However, we need to first join them first. MySQL doesn't know whether these two tables have common information. We need to give that information to MySQL and say, where in the employee table that we represent as E, look for the employee number. And is where the employee number in the employee table. So this means employee number in the employee table. Remember, we represent employee table as E, where it is equals to the employee number in assignment table. If we check assignment, see there is employee number there. So where A dot
employee
number. So this we join them at this point. But now we need to answer that we need hours work less than 20. Remember, this we select from employee. You will select this from assignment. Because we are selecting from those two tables, we need to tell MySQL that something that joins them together. It means where employee number in the employee table matches the employee number in assignment table. We'll now do and now. And I love using capital letter for, okay, and where, or I don't even need to work, and the hours worked. So, but the hours working is an assignment. So let me do A dot, because the hours work is in assignment table, where hours worked is less than 20. Before I run it, is this query clear? It's getting long, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is it. You can see the one I showed you from the PowerPoint. 4 and 5, Tom Carothers and Anita Jones. Let's speak up. Is it log or is the explanation not clear? Please, let's speak up.
I think the explanation is clear. It's just the coding to get it all in one single query. It's just the problem. Maybe with practice, you get used to it, but as it is right now, you know, it's fresh.
Yes, I totally understand. But okay, yeah. Any other person? Do you think if the explanation is not clear, I will explain.
Mr. Kenny, sorry.
Yes,
so this thing we did now it's an inner join, right?
Yes. Even though I didn't use the keyword join, let me show you how you can use join to do the same thing. So by default, it's doing inner join. Exactly. It's inner join because we're only returning the common rows from both. If you look at it, we are not returning all information from the left table. If we are returning all from left table and only these two rows where they match, that will be left join. And I will do that. Let me just show you how to do that here. But this one is inner join because it's only, and that's the most common you'll be doing at work actually. Because you only need where the information matches. That's the intersection, the common rows. That's the inner join. Thank you for pointing out. So suppose I want to use the keyword join here. I won't be using where. So I will do something like, let me scroll this up a little bit. So I will do something like select, let me just select, let me copy this. It's lazy too. Select these hours, first name, last name, hours worked from employee. We could also put as E, it doesn't matter. Then we'll now do, instead of putting comma, I will do join assignment as A. Then I will now put this guy here. All of these now will be the same. So all of these now is still the same. This and this as A, and then, so I will now do where the employee number is. So the only thing that's different is that instead of comma, I'm using the keyword join. That's the only thing that is different. Let's see if it worked. You see, so so even if I don't put inner join, but even if I put inner join, it's still the same. By default, see, it's the same, right? Now let's put left. So left join, now what you should expect is that it's going to return, let me say, left join, this as this. It's even giving me error here. That's the error. Let me run it and see the error. It said, I have error in my sequence that's where. Okay, let me see, select this left join this, where this, so it's having, let me see. No, it's having issue with the where clause when I use the left join, where yeah, is that line where employee number and this. I don't know why why MySQL is complaining if I'm using left join for, it's complaining about this line. Yeah. Okay, so but these are how to use the join equivalent. Okay, so if I just use join, it still corresponds to inner join. Okay, so it's same thing as this guy. So most of what I'll be doing here, they are all inner join, because that's the most common thing you'll be doing. But let's focus on the idea of what this is doing actually. So when you first, like I said, you need to first know the table that we need. So in this case, we need these two tables. We also need to know the columns that we need from the two tables. So what I'm doing here, I'm saying, okay, I'm selecting all of the columns first. You cannot do select first name, last name from employee, comma, hours work from assignment. No, you can't do that. You have to first select all of the columns. Now, it doesn't matter the order of this table. Even if I put assignment first and employee second, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter in this row too. It doesn't matter the order you put there. You are still going to get the same thing. So from employee, I only alias it as E because I don't want to be writing employee all the time, comma, the second table assignment, only alias it as A. Okay, and then the next thing we supply is what joins them together. That's the employee number in the employee table and the employee number in assignment table. The final one you supply is because we need a condition that we only need hours work. If I don't put this condition, for instance, let's say I remove this condition and I just put this, it's going to return all information. Yeah, from of hours work, you can see. So that last one is just the condition that we don't want all of the hours work. We only want employees that worked just less than 20 hours. That's why we put this last one here.
Condition.
Yeah, this last condition. Okay, and that's why it's returning these two. If that is clear, let's move on. We'll get it as we look at more questions. So I will skip the subquery for now. I'll skip this subquery. So this was what I was doing. Focus on the last one here. Don't look at the subquery.
So the has from the last syntax that you wrote, the has there as E. You just initialize the table name.
Yes, that's the alias, that we'll be using even when we're querying single table. Just same. Yeah, it's just to like a nickname, like your Sunday,
Okay.
instead of Sunday, I just, okay, Sunday as S.
As S, okay.
So instead
Okay.
of calling Sunday, I would just be calling
Yeah,
S.
instead of
S.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So if this is clear, let's look at another one. So
Sorry,
this
Mr. Kenny, can I ask a question?
yes, go ahead. Please.
Assuming this query is actually meant to be longer, maybe there's something else we need to query. We need to write another query, and not just can we now refer to, if we want to refer to the tables that we used alias for, like the other one that you showed us, can we interchangeably use the employee as E and E as employee if we're to write more queries after the where, after the where statement, where we're, I don't know, assuming we're
Can
not
we be
looking for
using
hours.
E or the,
Yes,
yes.
assuming we're not doing, we can interchangeably use the E if we have to write any query after that has to do with when we have to reference the employee table. I don't know if I'm asking.
I get your question. So as far as you've aliased it here, so what MySQL, now anytime you use E, you understand that you are referring to the employee table. And anytime you use A, so even if let's say, let me show employees and see other column there.
Now I have more questions, given that what Lena just asked. But I have one more question.
So we have employee number, first name, last name, department, phone number, and email. Let's see assignment was. So, but unfortunately, hours worked is greater than this, is this. So let's look at employee and see something we can do. Maybe we also need department. Let's say I need department that is administration. Let me not put this limit and see, since it's not long, it's not large. Let me see. So let's say I need the accounting and the administration department, right? And that's from employee table. Okay, let's say we want information from, let's say, administration. Though it may not return anything if it doesn't matter, but let's see. So we need department that we need these two information, where employee number, where hours worked is less than 20, and also the department is either accounting or administration. Okay, so we can do, and we'll just be using and, where the department, E.department, you can see. So I'm saying the department in employees table, remember we used the in keyword the last time.
Yes.
In accounting.
And then you can name all the departments you want.
Exactly. And administration. So let's see if this has matching results. So you can see, so, and if I want to return the department, I can put department here too. However, I will tell you one, you can see, so it didn't find any of them in the administration, so, but it found in accounting. So that's why I returned it. You see that? But I want to say something here, that there are cases whereby there will be departments in the two table. Okay? In that case, I think it's better to be using these alias even with them. Say, just let them know the employee the first name comes from the last name, the hours work come from assignment, and this one comes from this. Because suppose that there is department in the two table and I do not put E dot, my SQL will be confused at this first point, that which department are you referring to? Are you referring to the department that comes from the employee table or the assignment table? So you may be confused. So in that case, to be safe, just put since we have alias it E here, just put it there that, okay, I'm referring E dot this. So MySQL is now going to, this is like a strict SQL query that I need the first name from employee the table, the last name from employee table, the hours worked from assignment table, and the department from employee table. Even if you don't alias, it will work as far as the two tables doesn't have the same column name that correspond to this. But just to be safe, I don't know if you understand what I'm doing.
I do.
Yeah. Mr. Kenny,
Yes,
so
sir.
it doesn't matter that we are aliasing it from the first line.
Exactly. That's my next question.
That's a good question. So
that's my next question.
Let me do you see that it works, right? So what happens is that MySQL is unlike programming languages like we're going to see in Python that it runs code line by line. Order. In other so that's why MySQL is not, SQL is not a programming language. It's not. It's a structured, it's just a language for tables, data. Okay. So all programming languages will have issue with this because it works in order. But MySQL actually, it doesn't start the execution from here. Actually, no. The select clause actually is mostly the last thing that it works. It first go and check it checks if it's actually, most times it starts from the where or having. Most times. You want to check the employee number. It's going to check from whether this table occurs from here. This is where it's going to start from. It's going to check whether this table actually exists in your database. If it does, you have alias it here. So MySQL has run this row. Once it runs this row, then it checks this condition. Then it now checks this. So the select is always the last thing.
The last thing to do. Okay.
Yeah, it's always the last thing.
Okay, I have one more question, sir. It's
Yes,
it's just a simple question. I just want you to explain it because you said SQL will understand if we don't even put this alias, and then we just ignore the select first name, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm talking from where? I'm from employee when you select the table. Then you said it does not necessarily mean that we need to put alias. Then we can just put E. Then how will the SQL understand it that E is meant for employee table and A
like this,
is
right?
Exactly. How? Because we know, because when you look at this, it's just like I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
What happened is this. When I put space E, that's what we call implicit alias. Implicit. Like, you understand what implicit means?
Yeah.
I do not expressly state it out.
Yeah, that's the difference between implicit and explicit.
Exactly. So the alias is the explicit alias. Like, I'm explicitly telling you that this employee, I'm representing it as E. But if I don't, because you will see people write queries like this, and this is common, so that you will like, what does it know? So this is like implicit alias. So even if I don't put as there, I'm telling MySQL that it still represents that C, so he understands.
Okay.
Can we move on?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's look at another one. I won't use, so forget about the query. I focus on the table. So this question is names of employees who is assigned to project ID 1000. So first thing, we need to know which tables this come from. So fortunately, they are still from the same two tables, employee and assignment, because we have the project ID in the assignment table, and we have names of employees in the employee table. So now, we know the two tables, and we know the columns we need. We need names of employee, first name and last name. Okay, so that's what we want to show, their names. Who is assigned to project ID 1000? So first thing is find the employee's number who is assigned to project ID 1000. So let's look at it visually. Okay, the project ID 1000 we have 3 rows here, and the employee number are 1, 8, and 10. So we will take this employee number 1, 8, and 10 that we got from the assignment table. We will take it to the employee table to look at the employee names that have this employee number. So if you look at employee number 1, 8, and 10, what are their names? Mary Jacobs, Tom Jackson, and Ken Nomoto. So these, so you can see how the order at which MySQL is running. It first checks the you can see where it's checking, like the last row, project ID 1000. That's the order. It first check where the project ID 1000. You can see that's mostly like the last thing we're going to do. It checks the project ID 1000. It selects the employee number there, and it takes it to the employee table to look for the corresponding names that has that employee number.
So use the employee number to select it.
Exactly.
Give us the answer.
Because that's the condition. So it's mostly start from the condition that you are placing. If you are placing condition. Is this clear before we go and write it in Join?
Yes.
Okay. So remember, we need the employees, the names of the employee who is assigned project ID 1000. And we said project ID is in the assignment table. Okay. So let's move this. So we do select. Let's copy some of these. Okay. Let me just copy the first name and last name. Okay, first name and last name. Also, let me do project ID just for us to see. So I will do, so we know we are going to alias the assignment table as A. So let's just do A dot project ID. Okay, so from employee, I won't be using as now, just for you to know the implicit. Okay, so I'm saying as E. And the project, so I'm not using join, let me just be using this, the implicit one. And assignment, A, right? So we now need to give what joins these two tables. So that's where the where clause comes in. Where this place, this thing here, the employee number in the employee table, where it matches the where the employee number in employee table matches the employee number in
project ID.
In assignment table.
In assignment table. So this project ID is not the key we're using to match. If you look at the two tables again, it's not.
Oh yeah, it's project. It's project.
No, wait. Project ID is the condition that we were.
Oh, the assignment table. Assignment table.
So
assignment table.
Wait, sir. So what we are using to match them, which column are we using to match the two tables?
Number.
Employee
number.
You get, and that's what I'm doing here. Where the employee number in employee table matches the employee number
equals to employee number in assignment table.
That's what that matches.
Yeah, okay. In assignment table equals to.
Yes. And now the condition we now want to place is we want project ID that is assigned, that is equals to 1000. This is where the condition comes in. Okay. And that's what we'll do now, that we'll now do and the project ID in assignment table equals to 1000. I don't know if this query is clear.
Pleasure.
Let's run it and see if it works. Now, remember those three people I gave you, Mary Jacobs, Tom Jackson, and Ken Nomoto. So that is it. Okay, and this is their project ID, just for you to see. We mainly need the first name and last name, but just to be sure is giving the correct result. That's why I select the project ID. So we are selecting every columns we need here from which table. Now, what joins the two tables? That's what we are doing in the where clause here. If we have other condition, that's where the and comes in. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. So,
Excuse me, Mr. Kenny.
yes, ma'am.
Please, I want to ask this question.
Yes.
Assuming we're working with a more complex data, is it possible to have more than one primary key?
No.
Like, is it possible that we can have rows and rows that actually match, like more than one rows that match?
Yes, it will return all the rows that match.
No, I don't know.
Do you mean columns or rows?
Columns, sorry. Can we have two columns that match, the contents match, like the records match?
So no. So, and that's part of the job of a data administrator. There's something we call referential constraint. And I don't want to go into details of that. So, but what that is saying is giving a rule, all databases, and this rule goes to all databases, whether you are all SQL platform, whether MySQL, SQL Server, there's a rule, the referential constraint is that there must always be one, there could be many candidate keys. I don't want to go into this, but there must always be one primary key. What's a primary key? A primary key is a key that uniquely, match the word unique, that uniquely identifies a table. So for every table must have a single primary key. You could have a foreign key from another table there, but every table must have a unique primary key. So once you have two, you have broken the rule of the rule, this referential constraint, and you are going to have errors in your code. So, but that's the job of a database, and a database administrator knows that. So you will never create two columns with the same information. And if you have that, you have to identify which of them is your primary key. And that will be given when we are doing the create. Remember in the create, how to create data, how to create tables. Remember you specified the column that is primary key. You taught that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you specify, you will have to specify one that is a primary key, because every table must have a unique identifier. Do I answer your question, ma?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Let's move on to another question here. Let me click this. Okay. There's another one here. Is that we need to select the project names assigned to employee number 4. Project names assigned to employee number 4. Which two tables do you think, which tables do we need? Remember, we need the project names. We also need employee number 4. So which two tables do we need? We don't need the employee names. We need the project names. Which table has project name here?
They are so tiny, we can't even see very well.
Okay, let me see if I can put it in screen. What about now?
Yes.
Yes.
So which table has project names?
Project.
The project table. So so we have the project name there. That's the project table. Okay, so because you need to first know the table. Okay, but if you look at project table, it doesn't have employee number. Suppose it has employee number, we'll just query that single table. But because it doesn't have, we need to look at another table that has employee number, however, can also have something common between the two tables. Because if you look at it now, employee number has employee table has employee number, assignment table also has employee number. But which of the two Which of employee number and assignment would I
Assignment.
use? What assignment? Why did you say assignment?
Task
Because they
project
have
ID.
project ID.
Thank you.
In as much as it has employee number that the employee table has, but the uniqueness is the project ID to the project.
Thank you. You are getting this now. That's great. I'm happy. So we have project ID to match them. They have a common key, common column. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So to do that, we're going to select. So this is where MySQL will work, or SQL table. Remember, we need project names assigned to employee number 4. Now, what it's going to do first is going to find the project. It's going to find employee number 4. It's going to start from the left here. Where is the employee number 4? Employee number 4 is this, and this. You can say starting from the condition, employee number 4. So in that, all those employee number 4, where are the project ID? 1001, 1002, 1004, right? These 3 projects, 1001, 1002, 1004, as employee number of 4. Now, once it gets this project ID, 1001, 1002, 1004, it will now go to the project table to select the project names that have this ID. 1001 has this 2010 Q3 portfolio analysis. 1002 has this 2010 Q3 tax preparation. And 1004 has this 2010 Q3 portfolio analysis. Visually, is this clear? Remember, it's going to first select employee number, look at the corresponding employee ID for those employee number, and use that information to check the project ID, but the project table, I mean. So I won't show this is the subquery. Let me stop sharing this, and let's see how we can do that in the MySQL. Okay, so let's see. Remember, we need project names assigned to employee number 4. And then we said we're using the assignment table and the project table. Okay, so we need the project name. So we are going to select project name. And then maybe to make it clearer, we're also going to select employee number 4, just to be sure our query is correct. So we also select employee number 4. Okay, but we are going to give a condition at the end that we want where employee number is equals to 4. That's the condition. Okay, so we'll select project names. Let me do select star from project table just to see how the columns are. Select star from projects. Let me see, what's the name? Let me be sure. Let's show the tables here. The show table.
It has an S.
He didn't put from.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so these are this project name. So we need this project name, okay, and we need we need project name. Okay, so and then we need the employee number in the assignment table. Okay, so we're going to do select project name. Let project name. We also want employee number. So maybe, just to be used to it, let's alias project as P. Okay. And then assignment as A. So, but we need the employee number there.
Yeah.
Okay, so from where? From projects. Let's use calculator. It doesn't matter. Okay. Project P, right? Assignment A. Now now we now need our why is it? I don't want to use so why is it Okay, so we now need to join them, something to join them now. That will be where the P dot employee number, it could also be assignment dot employee number, it doesn't matter the order. Or is that what joins them? No, project ID is what joins them, not employee number. I think it's project ID that joins them, okay? Project ID. Okay, so where P dot project ID is equals to A dot project ID. So what's the last condition? Remember, the last condition is assignment employee number equals to 4. So we do, we've done and, so we do this A dot employee number. Let me just copy it. Equals to 4. Is this query clear? So let's see. So you can see those ones I told you. So it's selecting project names. We also want just to select the employee number, just to be sure we are correct. Okay, from project, we alias it as P, we alias assignment as A. This is where we are joining the two tables, where the project ID in project matches project ID in assignment. And this last one is the final condition. And if you have more condition, you can use and many times. And this equals to this, and this equals, you can use and many times. Okay, so an employee number in assignment table equals to 4. Any question on this, please? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So the next one I'm going to say, you are going to be the one to write. You will tell me what to write.
Okay, before you go, sir, now let's ask question.
Okay.
All right, I want to go back to the initial table before you started explaining the syntax. Before you started explaining the syntax, that table, this one, exactly. Now, you prepare this table, but should in case us, we don't have this table. We don't, because we are able to get, just like Linear said, we were able to get the primary key here because of the project ID that was there. Now, if you give us questions, we're not going to structure the table this way. We're just going to run the thing offhand, what we have in the head. We're not going to have this. So my question now is, how do we go about this table in our head without having something like this on an actual hand? I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. It may look stupid.
Yes, no, I understand you, sir. Remember at the very beginning, we said we are teaching you this course, SQL, as a what?
Like basic of it.
No, as a data analyst,
Analyst,
not as
yes.
a database administrator. It's not your job, sir, to create this. It's not your job, except you are working as a database administrator. That's what you need to worry about. Even though we taught you at the beginning, actually, how to create table. I believe Mr. Francis did that.
Yes.
But actually, at work, you won't be the one to do that. You won't. It's not except is your company, you are trying to start or you are doing everything. Or a very small startup that they need a data analyst that will do everything, which is tedious. That means you are doing the job of a database administrator and a data analyst. So, but just usually, it's not your job. All these standard companies already have a database. They have an existing database and tables there. They only need you as a data analyst to get this data from those tables and analyze them. So, and that's what we are doing here. So we are teaching this course as a data analyst, not as a database administrator. So you don't need to worry about that, but you need to, okay, if they have a question that you want to answer, a business problem that you're trying to analyze, you want to use that data to answer that. What you need to learn is how to ask questions that can be answered with the current data that you have. That's what you need. So you need to make sure your question can be answered by those data. Now, once you ask the question, that's why I'm asking which table. You need to ask yourself, I have this database. The database administrator is going to tell you which database actually, that they will give you all the information. That this is the data. For instance, I'm working currently at Microsoft. I'm using this database. They tell me which table and which database I'm going to use. So I only ask for, okay, which database do you have this information from? They gave that to me. And what I did was, okay, I have this database. I need to check what are the informations in this database? What are the tables there? What are the column names there? So, okay, since I look at, okay, these are the tables, these are the column names in this table, then I streamline it down. Which of these columns do I need to answer my question? Okay. So once I identify that, then I get to work. So yeah, that's what you need to do. What are the tables in the database and what are the columns in those tables that you need?
That links everything together for me to get my answers.
Exactly.
Okay. Now that I explained this table in front of me. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, so let's say another one that I want you to do. Okay. This unfortunately is 3 tables. Maybe you can. Let's see. You guys don't let me. It's the same way, same thing. Now I want, we want to step up to 3 tables. I need the names of employees who are assigned with projects associated with the finance department. Names of employees, names of employees, I already gave you all information from this thing. It's coming from the employee table. Who are assigned with projects. So with projects, there are 2 tables there. Project assignment as project ID, project as project ID. Okay, but how do you, then you also need those projects associated with finance department. Which of the assignment and project table as finance as department? That's the project table. And that's why I put arrow here, associated with finance department. So you have seen the 3 tables. Now, why do we need these 3 tables? I cannot join, if I don't use assignment, there's no way I can join projects.
So can you pause for a minute before you go further with your explanation? I just want to draw you back quickly.
Okay.
Quickly. Now, when you're trying to link it, project associated with finance department, even though we don't have actual finance department in the project, but we have departments, and that's why you're picking department as finance department. Do you understand my questions?
No. I'm only, the arrow here is telling you that the department column in project has information about the finance. Like the department column in project has names of department and
exactly. Okay. So now explain is that even in that department that we have under projects, there are names of departments there, and such
that the information is stored. Yeah.
So such that there will be finance departments, there will be there could be accounting department in that same department that we have as projects.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So why do we need assignment? Basically, I don't need anything from assignment, but why do we need it? Anybody? Because ID. Okay, what?
Because of the project ID.
Yes, the project ID.
Yes, because if I remove the assignment, and I know information I need is from the employee and project, but there's no way I can merge employee and project because they don't have anything common column. So which column is like an intermediary, like the, intermediary, something between them that can help us to merge the employee and the project.
Yeah, closely related.
That's the assignment. So that's the intermediary there, because I can go from employee to assignment and then from assignment to project. But there's no way to go directly from employee to project, even though those are the 2 tables I need. So I have to look for an intermediary table that can help me to link employee to project. That's where assignment comes in. And employee number will help me to link employee and assignment. And the project ID and assignment can now help me to link it to the project. Do you get that? That's the idea.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So now the consideration we're giving to the assignment table is actually because it interlinks both in different ways.
Exactly.
It has a link to both tables, but I'm also and we're also considering the assignment table because it has the list of the projects as well, right? So it's like
we don't read the project ID in assignment, but it has two columns that can
that has everything.
Yeah, it has employee number to merge employee. It has project ID to merge project.
And so that's why we consider it.
Exactly. So that's why I call it
it's actually unique to both tables in different ways.
Say that again.
It is linked to this and linked to the other differently. So that's like something they have in common. Both the employee and project have the assignment in common.
Yeah, that was the same thing. Yeah, that was the same thing Lillian did the other example. That's why I had to brought us back to that example that you gave us, the earlier one that has a project ID.
Let me use a vivid example. Let's say I need something from Sunday, but I don't know Sunday before. But I know Pelumi, and Pelumi knows Sunday. Pelumi knows me, he knows Sunday. So that's the assignment. Pelumi knows me, that's the assignment now. He knows me, that's the employee number. He knows Sunday, that's the project ID. So Pelumi knows both. But I want something from Sunday. I don't know Sunday, but I know Pelumi. So now I need Pelumi now to link both of us
together.
And
that's the assignment table.
That's the assignment table.
Yes. Okay.
So that's where the not necessarily that we need assignment table, but because we have everything that's inside the assignment, that's why we're going to consider the assignment table.
Yes, that will help us link the employee to project. That's why we are using assignment. So this one will stop. This one will continue tomorrow. So
can you give us the data? Can you give us this data to try out? The data for these
questions. Because you have the data.
Okay, we have the data. Yes. You have
the data, the same data, but the questions is what you do not have. So you can come up with different questions based on those tables. You have the table. Same table we are using.
Time is tomorrow's class, sir.
Yeah, tomorrow's class is 12 p.m. Nigerian time. Same time. Now,
I was going to say that
the volume is low. I can't hear you, sir.
Oh, sorry, sir. I said that's what makes me miss the class the other time because I was thinking it's going to be 7, but then it usually 4 a.m.
Yeah, sorry about that. So it's because of I want to get it done before going to church because I normally do some other classes in the evening. So yeah. So what we'll do, because this particular part we're almost done. So what I would do tomorrow is that once I finish this, I want to introduce us to the basics of Python tomorrow. We're starting Python classes tomorrow. After this slide is like 3 or more or 4 slides, so we'll be done. It doesn't mean that I will rush, we'll be done. But the tomorrow is just to introduce us to the basics of Python. So we are doing that too tomorrow. So get your mind set.
Do we need to download any interface for that?
Before, I usually tell people to do that, but I realize that takes time. So what we are going to use, because we only have few classes for the Python, so we are not going to deep because this is not a data science class. So we'll be using, as far as you have a Gmail account, do we all have Gmail accounts?
Yes.
So if you have Gmail account, then you have access to what we call Google Colab, but don't worry, I will show you that. You have it actually. Google gives everybody that has Gmail an access to use a platform to run the Python for free that you won't have to install anything, but you will be using internet. Just like since you are using internet to log in, so that will be fine. It doesn't consume much data. It's just to open online, and so you won't install anything.
Okay. But what if we want to install? Where can we access?
So I will tell you what to do if you want to install tomorrow. Something,
Okay,
something that you can install and then you can practice freely without using internet. I will show you that tomorrow as an alternative.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Any other question from anybody?
You say you're gonna give the link to the WhatsApp group.
Oh, yes. So let me see. Let me see if I have. So I think the first thing, let me stop recording this.